Hello there, and welcome back to buildqueue. This is going to be the final episode for our course about building Unity projects with Jenkins. And in this episode, we're going to wrap things up for Android. We have already made it to where we can build our Android application, but the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to publish our application to internal testing on the Google Play Store. As is tradition, let's go ahead and start things off by making our Unity side changes. So go ahead and open up Unity, and I'll see you there. Now, there's not too many changes that we really have to make on Unity, but we do have to create our Keystore file. So you want to go to File, Build Settings, and then you'll go to Player Settings. Then under Player, select Android Settings tab, select Publishing Settings, and then select the Keystore Manager. So I've already created mine, but you can go ahead and create new and make sure that you specify a dedicated location. I just put mine on my downloads directory for now. I don't want to actually push my Keystore file to my repository. That's not necessarily a secure place for it. So we'll put it elsewhere and we'll retrieve the contents of it later. And there's a few fields that you'll need to go ahead and fill out too. Again, I've already created mine. So you'll want to set a password for it and make sure that you save this password somewhere so you don't forget. We'll be porting it over to our credentials on Jenkins eventually. And then you'll have to create an alias here. This alias can be whatever you want. If you want to set it to your bundle identifier, you can do that. Bundle identifier just being com.buildqueue.testUnity project. That's something that's fine to use. I just use buildqueue for mine to keep it simple. And then you'll need a keep alias password too. And then you'll have to type in the password again. And then you can change the years if you want. It doesn't necessarily matter. I don't think it'll be around for 50 years. Set the organization to whatever you want. And then you'll select load keys. The next thing that I modified over on the project settings was I went up to the other settings section and I changed the scripting backend from mono to IO2 CPP. It's typically better whenever you're working with mobile devices. For target architectures, I wanted to support the most devices that I could, so I went ahead and selected all of these. But just a heads up, if you select all these, your AAB package will be larger. And those are the only settings that I really played around with. So let's go ahead and open up our Unity side build script. I already went ahead and made a lot of these changes here. Basically what it boils down to is we're setting some player settings to some environment variable values. So Keystore name, we're gonna be removing a lot of the Keystore information from our repository just to keep it a little bit safer. We don't want that getting into the wrong hands. So Keystore name, Keystore password, key alias name, and key alias password. Those are going to be stored in environment variables. The Keystore name is actually stored as a file path, so just keep that in mind. And some of these we'll have to add to Jenkins as credentials. Next up here, after the Keystore information, we have bundle version code. And this is a lot like what we did for iOS, where we add the build number to our application for tracking. So the bundle version code always has to be a higher value than the previously used bundle version number. So as long as we keep it tied to our Jenkins build number, and in case you weren't here for the iOS side, build number is a special environment variable within Jenkins that just gets the job build number or the job number. The last thing here is use APK expansion files. And the reason why we're using this is because the Google Play Store has some rather low caps for AAB size. So what this is going to do is this is still going to create your AAB. It's going to bundle everything together, but it's also going to bundle in some expansion files. So I'm not entirely sure what the architecture of an AAB bundle is, but inside of it, I assume it has your APK plus your expansion files. And a lot of your assets are going to be stripped out of your APK and they're going to be there living within the expansion files in the OBB file. And then I use this ternary operator because if it's an AAB, if it's a bundle, then yes, we will go ahead and use expansion files. However, if we're just building an APK for sideloading, we don't really want those expansion files. They can be annoying to set up properly when you sideload. It may be a big APK, but that's perfectly fine. There are no limitations for when we're sideloading, unless you just have a low amount of storage on your phone or tablet. And that's going to be it for the changes that we had to make on the build script. We just had to make sure that whenever we're updating our Jenkins file, we have all these environment variables set. So we will be adding those a little later on. If you want, you can go ahead and push these changes to your repository, but since we're going to be making changes to our Jenkins file in a little bit, You can hold off, it's all up to you. Don't push up your Keystore. Now, there is one thing that we do have to do preemptively if we want everything to work right. We actually need to go ahead and export a build first. And with this build, we're just going to build it manually, and then we're going to set it into internal testing on our Google Play account. So first things first, I'm going to go to the build settings, and then I'm going to open up player settings, and then I'm going to go over here to the Android tab. I'm going to scroll down to publishing settings, and I want to go ahead and set this Keystore real quick. After you select it, you'll be prompted to put in your password, and then you'll have to select your project key. Here's your alias. Mine's just buildqueue, and then you'll put your password in again. After you put that information in over here on the left hand side with the build settings, go ahead and build. Mine already exists, so I'm just going to replace it. I'll see you guys when it's done building. Okay, and now it's done building, so this should be signed with everything that it needs to go ahead and be deployed to the Google Play Store. And the reason why we're going to go ahead and upload this manually first is because with the strategy that we're using to automate this process, it requires us to go ahead and have a project set up, and we need to go ahead and put in basically a base version of it. So you have to manually put at least one build up. So let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and log into your Google Play account. In case you need help getting there, open up a new tab in your browser, type in Google Play Console, and here it is. Go ahead and sign in with your information. So whenever you log in, you'll be brought to a screen that sort of looks like this. However, you may not see an application here. I went ahead and created one preemptively. So you want to select create app. It should be somewhere on this page. Go ahead and name your app. I'm just naming this one Test Unity project. Select game for app or game. For this one, I'm just selecting free, and then I'm going to check both of these boxes at the bottom, and then I'm going to select create app. Next thing that you're going to do over on the left hand side, search for internal testing, select create new release, either here at the bottom or in the upper right hand corner. And before we could upload our bundle, we need to choose a signing key. So press that under app bundles, and then just select use a Google generated key, and then wait for a minute. After everything has finished processing, go ahead and select upload under app bundles, select your AAB package, and then wait once again. Okay, took about a minute or so and it's finished. We don't really have to worry too much about the release details right now. Just go ahead and select next. Got some warnings and everything. It's fine. We're just going to override this anyway. So select save and publish. Pop-up comes up. Save and publish. And now we've created our first release in internal testing. It's not live, it's just an internal testing. So if we had testers, they would be able to retrieve the application now. The next thing that we need to do seems a little strange. We need to go to Google Cloud. So just open up a new tab, type in Google Cloud, and then select Cloud Console. Now I already have a project here and it already automatically signed me into my account. If you need to sign in, go ahead and sign in. First thing you want to do up in the upper left hand corner, this is the project that I've created previously. I'm just going to select new project. I'm going to name this Test Unity project. Don't need to specify an organization. I'm going to select create, and you'll see notifications here as things start getting provisioned. It does take a little bit of time. Now, don't worry, I don't believe that this should be incurring any costs. We're basically going to be setting up a service account. We're not going to be running any servers or anything like that. We're going to enable the Google Play Store API. So in the upper left hand corner, you're going to select the navigation menu. You're going to select APIs and services. You can search Android Google Play in the search bar at the top, and you're looking for Google Play Android Developer API. Mine says manage right now, but you want to select enable if you see enable. After you've enabled the Google Play Android Developer API, select the navigation menu once again, go to IAM and admin, and you're going to select service account. Once again, I've already created a service account here, but you want to go here. You want to go to where it says create service account, give your service account a name. I just put in test project API account and it'll generate an email. Don't worry, you don't have to actually sign into any emails or anything. Go ahead and add a description if you want. I just said this will allow us to have access to the Google Play Store API. Select create and continue, select role, and type in editor. This will give us the necessary permissions that we need, and then select continue. And then you don't need to put anything here for step 3, just select done. And then you want to select the service account you just created. You want to select keys. You want to select add key, create new key, JSON, create, and you want to save this file. And you want to save this file on your Jenkins server, by the way. So however it is that you can transfer it over there, do it. Since I'm using remote desktop, I can just automatically transfer it. So on my workstation, I went ahead and put my Keystore file here, and then I went ahead and put my key file here that's tied to my service account. And now I'm going to transfer these to a location on my Jenkins server. So I have remoted into my Jenkins server now, and I just went to the place where I have all of my Jenkins projects running. You probably want to keep it in a safer place than me. Mine is literally just at c/Jenkins, and that's where I have my credentials here that we just created for the service account. And then my Keystore file is stored here too. Now that we transfer these files over to our Jenkins server, the next thing that we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and install some things on our Jenkins server. You'll want to go ahead and open up a new tab in your browser. You'll want to type in Ruby installer Windows. You'll want to select downloads under rubyinstaller.org. And then I'm unsure if you really need dev kit, but I went ahead and just selected this top one right here, the x64. Don't worry about x86. x64 is fine as recommended one. You'll want to launch the installer, allow it to make changes, accept the license, and the first thing will be checked. You also probably want to check the third one. You're going to need msys2 here. I personally already have everything installed, so I'm not going to install it again. After everything has finished installing, the next thing that you want to do is you want to type in gim-install-fastlane. And in case you have any issues installing Fastlane and it yells at you about msys2, just in case it doesn't set up properly, mine didn't install properly for instance, you can actually go to the msys2.org website and then install from there. And then after it's installed, you can run the gim-install-fastlane command. Once again, I've already installed Fastlane, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to exit out of this. So Fastlane should be good to go. If you want to check if it's installed properly, you can just type in Fastlane space -v for version. And if it's recognized and it shows you a location of where it's installed, then great, it's working. So we want to actually go ahead and go back over to our Google Play console because there's one thing that we have to add. But go ahead and leave Google Cloud open in the very least because we need to get something from here. So back over here on the Google Play console, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to select users and permissions, and I went ahead and added mine here. You want to select invite new users. Now you'll navigate over to Google Cloud, service accounts, and then if you hover over a service account, you can copy it. I'll copy the one that I just created. I'm not going to use it though. You'll paste this in. You can set an expiration date if you want. App permissions, select add app, and you can select the application that you just created. I'm going to select this one here at the bottom, and it's fine if you leave this one here selected. The only thing that you really need to make sure is checked here is under releases, select release apps to testing tracks. We don't want to make this too powerful. We don't want to give this admin privileges. That's not really the most secure. So this is all it needs to do. It just needs to be able to upload to our testing tracks, and then select apply. And then if you select users and permissions once again, and then select invite user, and then select send invite. Normally people would have to accept the invite. However, whenever you invite a service account, it automatically will accept your invite. So you don't have to actually sign into any email to accept. So what is this account going to be able to do that we just added? Well, it's going to be used basically as an access token. If you remember what we've done with GitLab, since we've set up some personal access tokens, it's going to be able to interact with the Google Play Console's API. And it's going to be able to basically do exactly what we did when we uploaded our application manually. It's just going to automate that process for us. So we're almost ready to update our Jenkins file, but there's one last thing that I need to do over on my Jenkins server. So I'll meet you over there. Since we installed Ruby and since we installed Fastlane, we need to go ahead and restart our Jenkins service. So in order to do that, we need to go to services. Here we can see our Jenkins service. And the reason why we're going to restart the service is because we have updated some new path variables here whenever we added all this, whenever we installed Ruby and Fastlane, and Jenkins isn't going to be able to pick that up unless we restart, or unless we do a lot of manual maintenance over on the Jenkins server side. And it's just a little bit simpler to go ahead and restart Jenkins. So we'll be able to use Fastlane commands easier. So I'm gonna select restart. So Jenkins will go down briefly, but then it will come right back up. And then any agents should automatically connect. You don't need to go over to your Mac, for instance, and reconnect. That completes a lot of the configuration that we had to make. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at our Jenkins file again. So I'm going to open it with VS Code. Once again, I've already made these changes, so please just follow along with me. So the very first thing that I had to do was I had to go ahead and add all the environment variables that we're looking for over on our Unity side build script. And I also need to list the locations of my credentials files and my Keystore file. And these locations are going to be relative to my Jenkins server. So make sure that you remember those locations. Personally, I just put mine in C/Jenkins. So that's going to be the same for both of these values. What I did was I went over to Jenkins and I created some more credentials. They are secret text, and I just provided my path for both of these top two credentials here for Google Play API JSON location and then test project Keystore file. So go ahead and go over to Jenkins and add these values in. The next credential that I added was the Keystore password. So go ahead and add your Keystore password, and then same for the alias name and the alias password. The alias name doesn't necessarily need to be stored as credentials. If you want to just put that in here manually, that's perfectly fine. Alias password, you can go ahead and add that to credentials though. So take some time, go ahead and add all these, and then I will see you in the Android section. And once again, the secret type for all of these is going to be secret text. So make sure they're all secret text. And just because I think it requires a little bit more explanation for these top two, the reason why I'm storing the path location as a credential is because whenever we run the job, I don't want people to be able to run the job and check the console output and see the path where all my API keys are going. And just in case anyone wants to see what this actually looks like, this is what these look like over in my secret text credential. So for the Google Play API JSON location, I'm setting that credential equal to C Jenkins test Unity project followed by all these numbers.json. It matches the file name. And then for test project Keystore file, it is C Jenkins buildqueue.keystore. I'm changing these back now though. The next thing that you want to do is you want to navigate down to your deploy Android AAB stage. And I went ahead and renamed this to deploy Android AAB-Nexus because this is where I'm going to be storing it on the Nexus repository. However, I'm going to be deploying it now to the Google Play Store. So I went ahead and added another stage that's called deploy Android/Google Play. And I went ahead and tied it to the same variable here, the same build parameter. If you want to change it up and have a separate build parameter for this deployment, that's perfectly fine, but I just left it as is, so I didn't have to go back and modify all my other build pipelines. And there isn't really all too much that we have to do within this stage. It's literally just one command. I mean, it's a long command, but it's just one. So we're going to do a check for that build parameter, add steps, script, and inside of script, you want to go ahead and add bat, and then you want to use single quotes once again to encapsulate everything because we are passing in some credentials. You want to use Fastlane supply. Usually Fastlane supply will be exporting your bundle to the platform of your choosing. It can work with both iOS and Android, but we're doing Android, so this one's going to post to Google Play. The track that we're going to choose is internal for internal testing. You can also choose closed testing or any other track that you want. But for us, we're going with internal. Release status, I'm leaving this as a draft. For some reason, I can't get it to work properly if I set it to completed. It says that I need to release it as a draft first, which is fine for my use case here. And if you're able to find out how to get it to go ahead and be released directly on internal testing, please let me know. I tried for a little bit to get it to work. It didn't necessarily work how I wanted it to. But in the very least, we don't have to stare at it while it uploads an AAB for a while, like we did when we did it manually. The next parameter is AAB, and we're just going to point it to our build's AAB file that it creates. The next thing that you want to add is JSON key, and it's going to be pointing to our environment variable that we set up above. This will use the credentials to authenticate, and then you want to set the package name. The package name is the package name that is tied to the project that we're using. So you've seen it before, com.buildqueue.testunity project. Yours probably looks a little bit different from mine. And the final one here is version name. I actually just updated it, so if you already copied it down, update it to build number. And go ahead and put a build number inside of percentage signs because we want to go ahead and get the job number. And I want it to be v/build number. This probably isn't the best naming convention, but it's just what I'm going to use for now. -test project. You can name this whatever you want. Typically it's useful to go ahead and get some sort of version code in there though. Maybe your project version number would be a better fit here instead of build number. But for now, I'm just going with build number. And that is everything that we need to do here. So let's go ahead and save our changes and push to our repository. And I will see you guys over in Jenkins. Let's see if it works. After you've logged into Jenkins, go to your dashboard and then select Android Unity project. And don't be alarmed, I was testing out a lot of things here, so that's why my build number is all the way up to 43, and there are a lot of failures, but that was just some trial and error with a few things earlier. This is actually the first time that I've put together a build pipeline that exports directly to the Google Play console. So once again, if there's anything important that you feel like I've left out if you've done this before, please let me know. So let's go ahead and test things out. I'm going to build with parameters. I'm going to select build Android AAB and deploy Android AAB, and I'm going to remove build Android APK. We're not worried about APK right now. And I'm going to select build, and now let's wait. After just a couple minutes, it didn't really take all too long. It seems like everything was successful. So let's go ahead and check out the Google Play Store to see if we can see our application over there. And I'm not going to worry too much about Nexus. I've checked that a million times already. You guys know how to do that. So I'm heading back over here to the Google Play console, pressing home. I'm going to my project and I'm selecting internal testing, and we should see a draft here. And yes, V44, because if I go back to my job, this is pipeline 44. So it did inject the build number and it named it. And this isn't completely released for people in internal testing. This is just a draft, but now we don't have to sit here and watch it as the AAB is uploaded. It's already just pre-uploaded here. So all we had to do to make this the official one is select next, save and publish, save and publish. So it saves a little bit of time. And now this is my official one that is available to internal testers now. And again, I wasn't able to necessarily find out a way to go ahead and push this directly out to internal testers. So once again, if you have found a way to do this, please let me know. But for our use case here, this is perfectly fine. It was still able to deliver the build. So we'll take the small victory. Well, that's it. That's everything that I wanted to show when it comes to building Unity projects with Jenkins. So this is the end of the course. We have built for Windows, we've built for WebGL, we've built for iOS and Android, and for both of those last two, we went into greater detail about deployment, and we even set up an artifact repository to house a lot of our artifacts, and we set Jenkins up from scratch. There was a lot that was packed into this course, so if you're new to looking into all these things and this is where you started your journey, then hopefully you learned a lot. A lot of time and a lot of research was put into creating this series. So please take this information, run with it. As the course comes to a close, once again, if any of you have any issues with any part of this series, please let me know. And I'll try my best to go ahead and answer and get back to you as soon as I can. Now, I will still be making some videos, so don't worry, I'm still going to be putting guides together. However, they're going to be a little bit shorter form for a little bit until I get the drive back up again to do a full course. I need a little bit of a break. I've had way too many restless nights recently. And if anybody out there has any suggestions for any kind of shorter form one-shot videos that you would like to see, whether it's related to automation, DevOps, or game development in general, please let me know. Or if you have suggestions for any kind of course that you would like for me to attempt to make, please let me know that too. I'm open to all suggestions. That will conclude the final video of this course. So once again, thank you for sticking it out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.